Hello and welcome back, everyone. Happy New Year. Today we have a special guest with us. Her name is Isabela Loscher. Isabela,
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Isabela Loscher, as you said. I'm originally from Venezuela, but I work at a law firm in Colombia. And I'm currently the knowledge management officer for the Colombian office. I'm also a lawyer. I don't like to say this, but I always say that I kind of lost my money studying because I studied my LLM focused on corporate banking law. And right now I'm trying to focus on legal tech and knowledge management. So that's basically what I do.
it's a very interesting background. And when we spoke the first time, you also mentioned something else that you do, which is this you distribute or you promote this product called Dot Office.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that and we'll loop it all together in a second.
During my main job as a knowledge management officer, I work kind of trying to look for efficiencies, right? So that's basically my only job. My daily job is basically to understand what lawyers need, to talk to them, what they need, what they're looking for, and everything. And we also talked about this a bit, is that basically, kind of like 3 years ago, there's like a boom started with legal tech, right? So it's so overwhelming and we have so many things in the market. It's artificial intelligence and all those crazy things that we kind of become overwhelmed a bit. And what happens is that I'm not sure if basically that happens as well in the US or in Europe, but for example, in Latin America, when I tried implementing those tools, we were not ready, right? I kind of showed people so many things about, legal tech and artificial intelligence and all those things. And partners were like, well, yeah, that's amazing, but that's kind of too much, right? I don't want anything that tells me how to write my arbitration clause, or I don't want. So I kind of started doing a benchmark within the law firm and in talking to other knowledge management officers in the world. And I started seeing that we have a problem, an efficiency problem, that it's very basic, right? So I was saying like, of course we're not ready for artificial intelligence or for crazy stuff and all that beautiful things if we're, incurring in inefficiencies, basically working in Microsoft Word, right? So for example, and this is the thing that why I love Dot Office and why I basically started working with them is that basically I remember that when I was a lawyer, I used to work with the finance team and I was doing a credit agreement. And that was a 300 pages document. And then I pressed enter and the formatting, it got so messed up, you have no idea. And then I spent 4 hours, for literally 4 hours at 3 a.m. in the morning, fixing all the formatting and doing all that stuff. And law firms, I don't know if that's good or bad, but you have to bill all your hours and basically account for everything that you're doing. And I billed those hours, and then I said, I spent 4 hours here basically modifying a document. And of course, the partner called me the next day saying, "Are you crazy? I can't say to the client, like, oh, these are 4 hours from our associate that she spent fixing your document." And that's when I said, "Oh, wow, this is the problem." Right?
Yeah.
This is the problem. We really have that's the back to basics thing. We really have to understand that we're being very, very inefficient in very basic things, such as formatting, reviewing cross-references, reviewing definitions from a document, and a lot of things. So I got to meet these people, which are today, now I work with them as well. And I was first their client. Right? So they basically implemented templates. They have buttons for styles. They do everything to your needs so you can respect your corporate image. They have something called the proving tool. They have something called the smart builder and so many things that when I presented that to the partners, it was very familiar to them because just like your product is basically, it's an add-in inside of Word. So when I show the partner, this is something that goes into Microsoft Word, that basically it's a tool that you use every single day, they would be like, oh, now I like this, right? So, and then they would start saying like, oh, now this is great. Now let's implement this. Of course, implementing, in my opinion, I bet a lot of knowledge management officers and innovation officers do think the same, is that it is very hard to implement changes. So the cultural changes, I don't know why we're so stubborn as lawyers that every time someone tells us this is going to be great, but you have to change 1 millimeter of what you're doing, and people are like, oh, no, I can't do that. I can't change, even if this is going to be an amazing efficiency for me. So when I implement that, I talked to the people that they're from Netherlands. I talked to them, and then I said, you know what? I've been talking to knowledge management officers in Colombia, and I think we all have the same problem. Here, we're all having the same thing. And so I talked to the partner at PPU and I told them, you know what? I believe that this is not about competing between law firms, right? This is about raising the standard of the market. What I want is, that this happens, for example, in New York. You call a great law firm, a super big name law firm, and you call them and you ask for an SPA, and they have it in 3 hours. And it's crazy. And we're like, how are they doing that? It's because they have all these little tools that, allow them to have this capacity to, respond super fast. So basically what I did is that I talked to them and I said, you know what? We need to start spreading this within Latin America because it's the same thing. And of course, when you call someone in the US or in Europe, they all have something similar. But because here we need to start from the basics, not even one law firm had something similar. So it was a boom. So I basically talked to the office and I told them, let me represent you in Colombia and let me meet the people in the other law firms. I won't see any information or confidential information from them, anything. No, I just want to show them, I want to open their eyes to how beautiful, the practice can be and how, and I always say that when I was a lawyer, if I would have had this tool, I would have been so much happier, right? So that I would have been so much happier. So, I always say, if I would have had this tool that night, those 4 hours that I spent fixing that stupid credit agreement, right? Maybe I would still be working as an attorney and not doing legal tech.
But then the legal tech world will be missing your contribution.
Exactly.
So we're grateful for those 4 hours that you burned that one night.
Yeah, I agree. And let me tell you, there is not even one law firm that we have met that has said, this doesn't work for me. I don't need this. Not even one. And that's when I said, this is so crazy. We have here, and we have very big law firms. We have very big transactions with American law firms and all that. And we are so much more inefficient than them, of course. And we spend, I don't know. And if you see, for example, in transactions, emails go back and forth at 4 a.m. And that happens because of inefficiencies, right? Because it's like you have to call your junior attorney to, please check the 1,000 definitions that we have in the document. Please check the 1,000 cross-references that are all messed up and all that. Or please, and we haven't even talked to one that have said, no, I don't like it. So that's when I said, well, we have to go, all of us need to go back to basics, right? We all need to start from zero. And if you in all these roundtables, which ILTA does amazing roundtables, and I go to all of them and I pay all of them. I love them so much because I learned so much there. All the comments from the people in Latin America when we're asking questions, it's the same thing. We are not there yet. And maybe this is a very unpopular opinion because, of course, there's a lot of people doing a lot of innovation in the legal system here. But in law firms, I'm telling you, we are not there. We really need to go back to basics and find our efficiencies. So because, for example, if you have for example, a super taxonomy tool to have, you're innovating inside the law firm and you have, all the model documents and everything, and you have so many amazing things, but then you open the document and the document is a mess.
Yep.
Right? So all the efficiency that you went through and that you have now because you have the model document and whatever, if the format is messed up, if definitions are a mess, if cross-references are a mess, if the corporate image is not the correct one, you're losing all the efficiencies that you're trying to find with the other tool. It's innovate where you're at, right? And there's another thing that I remember we said that day is, this is a Spanish saying. Actually, I don't even know if in Colombia people say that, but in Venezuela they do. It's basically you have to put your socks first and then your shoes.
Yeah, the sort of saying in English is probably learn to walk before you run.
Exactly.
Um,
That's also in Spanish as well.
yeah, well, there you go. I'd love to hear what the Spanish language version of that is. What is it?
Yeah, the Spanish is, oh, do you want to hear it in Spanish?
Yes, please.
Okay. Hay que aprender a caminar antes de correr. That's walking before running.
Okay. So I am now going to like make sure this goes to an international audience,
Okay.
and so they can hear it in Spanish as well.
A
But
caminar,
it's
hay que aprender a caminar antes de correr. And the other one about the socks before the shoes, it says you have to say it, primero las medias, después los zapatos.
you had so many themes that kind of came out of that little description of what you do.
Okay, perfect.
Um, the one that I want to pick up first
Yeah,
is the Latin American idea.
yeah,
Legal technology around the world has really been focused primarily on English-speaking countries,
yes,
and I think a lot of that's driven by economics, right? That's where
yeah,
the money can be made.
yeah,
But Latin American or the Latin America market probably has not had as much attention as it deserves.
yeah,
And you raise a really interesting point of people have been looking at these AI technologies in America, in the UK, and the Latin American market's not ready. What do you mean by not ready? Are you talking about the people being not ready? Are you talking about the firms and the technology not being ready? What do you mean
okay.
by that?
Well, I think there might be several problems there. Well, not problems, but situations.
Mm,
I think one of them is basically the language barrier, right?
mm,
One of the things that started happening was that basically not all the tools, but most of the tools, well, for example, AI tools, these have been designed basically to understand data in English language, right?
mm,
And the
mm,
reason for that is not AI's problem or AI's fault. It's a language fault. Why? In English, everyone talks the same. So if you're talking about shares or stock, you talk about shares or stock. If you're talking about companies, you say company and that's it. In Spanish, on the other hand, we don't do that. If you see a document, and I'm gonna confess myself because I've done it as well. If I see my own documents, I can say several words for several things today that last week I said completely different, right? So, of course, AI tools go crazy when trying to understand the Spanish speakers, right? So I believe is that first of all, these tools have been designed first for the English language because it's easier for them to do this first approach. So I believe one of the problems is that. Second of
mm,
all, of course, Latin America, except for, I don't know, several cities, but we are also Colombia, Venezuela, Peru. We are basically third world countries, right? So it is harder for us to invest in certain things, right? So I work in a huge law firm, an amazing law firm. It makes a lot of money, and we have a great amount of clients. Um, Peru, the same thing. In Colombia, there are very, very big law firms as well that are, but still, it has been a bit harder to invest in certain things, right? So before investing maybe in AI or in efficiency tools, well, we start investing in certain things, like, for example, talent, bringing international talent to Colombia, things like that, or, increasing, I don't know, the real estate space and things like that. And the last part, I don't know if this has to be with I don't know if this has to do with Latin America or with lawyers itself, but right, it's just being a lawyer, in my opinion, means that you're stubborn. You're basically stubborn, right? Like we are, and we are like super safe people because that's our jobs,
yep.
telling our clients where the risks are, right? Telling our clients what they can and they cannot do. And, forbidding people to do things that they cannot do when they're not legally or they're not legally feasible and things like that. So I believe that, yeah, maybe Latin Americans are like that, but maybe it's because we're lawyers and that's it. But it is, yeah, it's that. It's just that and this is something horrible. And if my bosses listen to this eventually, I love you all, but this is a true statement. I love you all, but this is a true statement. There's another thing that happens is that if you are a partner, that you've been making money your entire life, doing things one way, why am I going to change? Right?
Yeah.
Why am I going to change? Right? It's fine. We're making money like this. It's fine. So, but the thing that happens is that they don't know what the market is doing, and the market is actually kind of forcing us to innovate. Because yeah, you've been making money for 20 years, but you have no idea all the innovations that the market has. From 2020 to 2022, you have no idea. So you've been making money for a while doing that. So I believe that that is also another thing. I'm not sure if that's a Latin American thing. I think that's a lawyerly thing.
I
That
think it's a loyalty thing.
yeah, I think that's a loyalty thing. You've been so great with your clients and all and whatever, and you've been winning cases, and you have everything is going and has been working well for you. Why are you going to change?
Mm.
So that is one of the things that I think in Latin America has taken us back very hard.
So this links to a couple of ideas, right? It's the idea of the transformation challenge that's inherent whenever you try to make people differ in their behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
And linked to that is the idea of finding the right problems that people will be happy to tackle.
Exactly.
How do you go about identifying the right problems? And I think you've told a wonderful story about what you're doing with Dot Office.
Yeah.
But what made you think that was the right problem?
Maybe this is too basic, but I think you have to talk to people, because that's another thing that happened is that, for example, these are very, very busy people, attorneys, they have no time to do anything.
Mm.
So one of the things that happen is that maybe sometimes they don't even know what's happening to them or what they need, right? Maybe sometimes they have no idea what their inefficiencies are. So one of the things that I found very useful, maybe that's inefficient, me that I'm trying to be super efficient, but maybe that's kind of inefficient. But I literally sat down with every single attorney of the law firm to talk to
Wow.
them. Every single one of them. I did that, yeah. And I spent, and I remember one of the, it was like right before the pandemic started. My boss told me, because we have also attorneys in Peru and in Chile, and he told me, "Do you want to go there and talk to them in person?" And I said, "Yes." And I literally got on a plane and I went 2 weeks for each office, and I talked to every single one of them. I created small meetings. This is a 400 attorney law firm, so I
Mm.
had meaningful, deep conversations with each one of them. And I literally had to sit down with each one of them. And I created, this small meetings of 5 people, because that's another thing that I think that happens. It's just, if you have a meeting of 45 people, they don't feel comfortable saying, I think this is a problem. Or if you are in a Zoom meeting, it's kind of very impersonal. So they don't open the microphone and say, like, I think we need to do this. Instead, when you have meetings of 4 or 5 attorneys and you say, my job is to help you. My job is to create tools, things, processes that can make you be efficient. What do you want? And if you are with only 4 people there, trust me, they'll talk to you, and they will say what's happening to them and what they need. So one of the things that I really think that really helped me understanding, well, also one of the things that helped me understanding is that I was also an attorney, and I don't want to say an unhappy one, but I had unhappy moments. I had unhappy moments while I was being an attorney. So I also knew a bit, what I wanted. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I like that I don't know. And also the partner that works with me with the knowledge management team, he's also an attorney and a very proficient attorney, and he does a lot of heavy documents and all that. So he also understands. And also, that's another thing, is that he helped me when I would tell him, people want this. They don't like this. They need a tool like that. He would say, yes, we have the budget for that, because he understood and he also felt the problem himself, right?
Yeah.
So whereas if you have a partner that it's kind of an outsider of the practice, he would say, well, do we really need $10,000 for that? Actually, we do. But if he's the one that has, if he's the one that has to approve the project or the budget, he's not going to do it if he's an outsider, right? So one of the things that, I talked to each one of them, small meetings to understand what everyone wanted it. And also, when that's another thing, when I started listening to people, and then maybe there's an attorney, for example, in Chile, that will tell me about his concerns or his problems or his inefficiencies. Maybe he didn't even know that he was inefficient in other things that I'm showing him. So I might listen to him and say, yes, that's great. Duly noted. I'm going to work on that. But also, how about this? When you're doing formatting stuff, when you are reviewing and when you're doing quality control things, are you also inefficient there? And they will be like, oh, yes, we're so inefficient there. I haven't even think about it, right? So that's one of the things that I think is just that you really need to talk to everyone, and I think you really have to be open to listen to everyone. So it's just I have to say that I think you have to be a people person. You have to. I love talking, as you may see, but I think you have to be a people person, right? You have to be able to talk to everyone and be, kind of, yeah, in a friendly way. So, and also understanding, that's the last thing I'm going to say, understanding that your job is basically helping them. My job is not bringing clients to the law firm anymore. My job is not doing a perfect loan agreement. My job is to make your job easier. So I breathe it the whole day, right? I just talk to everyone, and if they're crying, I'll just listen to them to understand what they need.
I love, 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 love that answer. And we could end this video recording right here, and we would have like already contributed
Aw.
the most valuable advice that you could give in 2020,
Mm.
2022. We've
2022,
moved
yeah.
on. It feels like a very long 2020 because of COVID.
Yeah, it was. It was a very long 2020. I agree.
But that was incredible. And I think it boils down to this idea of active listening. You
Yes.
listened and you had a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, I love that. This also leads to a question I had not planned for, and that is data collection.
Yeah,
It's a big
exactly.
theme in 2022.
Yeah.
All the law firms are sort of talking about this now because I
Hmm.
think people have realized there's a problem that we always like throw around this idea of data-driven decision making or data-driven work. But
Yeah.
then you look back and go, wait, what data? We haven't
Yeah.
collected anything.
We haven't collected any data. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And your role was basically to identify, aha, let's collect this thing. And
Exactly.
that's probably the hardest part of, well, data collection, deciding what to collect.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And one of the things that I don't really know too much about processes, which is great because there's also people with processes oriented in PPU. And that's also one of the things that I asked him, what could I do, for example, to recollect the data? And one of the things that I do, and I do that, I think kind of every 3 months, is that I sent this little forms to all the attorneys at the law firm. It's kind of like I don't know how do you say that in English. Like suggestions, like a suggestion box. Basically,
Yes,
to
yes.
ask them what they need. Of course, I kind of guide it a little bit. So I do several questions. For example, are you using this tool? Do you find it helpful? Do you even know what the tool is? Because sometimes there are new attorneys that no one told them that they have this in the law firm, right? And they're like, I don't even know that that works or that we have that and we're paying for that. Well, that's crazy. So I do that every 3 months. I do it with forms, literally with the forms that you can do with SharePoint. And basically, what I do is that I extract all that information in an Excel, and I can have all that right to kind of understand and have like a bigger overview of what's happening. So I do that every single, yeah, like every 3 months. I do ask, do you find it helpful? Do you think we are falling behind and maybe we need to innovate some more? Do you think this is terrible? Do you think we're wasting money? And I do all that. And of course, there's a lot of people that say, like, I don't find it useful because whatever. But it's like 1% of the attorneys, right? That never happened. And also, and I know that this part is terrible, but also I talked to the human resources team to make this a compelling questionnaire. right? You have to, you're obligated to do it. You're
Yep.
forced to answer this questionnaire. And that can kind of play against me a little bit because knowledge management officers, as I told you, we have to be friendly. We have to, provide with solutions. So
Yep.
every time you do something super harsh, like you have to do this, or if you don't do this, you're going to have bad feedback at the end of the year, or whatever. But you kind of need a little bit of that as well, because that's the only way I can understand the data and have the complete data. So it's kind of like, I don't do it myself, but I talk to the human resources team like, hey, is there a way that when we send this, you just say to everyone that if they don't do this, we are going to kill them?
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's relabel that. We're going to rebadge this as assisted active learning. Oh no, assisted active listening.
Assisted active listening, exactly. Well, it's really hard. Sometimes, KM, etc., and all that innovation stuff, it's not super evident to them,
No.
right? They don't see the benefit right away. So it's hard for them to, kind of help me or give me some feedback, give me knowledge and all that, and give me experiences and all that. It's kind of hard. So you have to. I can sometimes kind of hear them saying, "Well, what's in it for me, right? What's in it for
Mhm.
me? Oh, I'm going to help you build some knowledge and innovate for the law firm. What's in it for me? I mean, why is this so important? If I have a transaction that I have to close in 3 hours, right? So this is not
Yep.
really important.
Yep.
So that's kind of like, it's not their fault. It's that they're busy and that what we're doing is not so evident and you cannot really touch it. So it's kind of an abstract thing. So
Yep. Yep.
showing abstract things is very hard.
This is such an incredible conversation, and you're in this unique position where you're the knowledge management officer at a large law firm. You also help with promoting of a specific tech product that solves a fundamental problem.
Yeah.
So you have this like incredibly, I would say, maybe even unique view in the marketplace where you can see Latin American firms progressing the needs of the lawyers, listening to these different pockets of demand and
Yeah.
identifying the problems. It's amazing. And like, honestly, I did not plan for this session to be talking about active listening or assisted
But it's an important
active
part.
listening. It's exactly. We like, I had thought this was going to be a conversation about, okay, what is the right technology if we are going back to basics, right? What is the right technology for a market that's in a certain state
Yeah.
where it may not be as advanced as the UK or the US, but this is even more fundamental.
Yeah. I
Like
agree.
listening to people. I love it. I love it, love it, love it,
Yeah.
love it.
But you know what I think is just about the right technology and all that. I really think you need it like for example, everyone calls me like a hybrid lawyer because I know
Yep.
a little bit of law and then a little bit of technology. I actually don't know anything about technology, which I have no idea, which is why it is so important to not feel like, oh, I'm a super well-rounded person and professional. I have everything and I know what to do with technology. No, we have an amazing IT director at PPU, and I bet that all other law firms that we have been working with, they also need amazing IT directors. And what happens is that you need a little bit of both. It's not that you need one person that knows both, right? You need an amazing IT director, and then you need a lawyer that does knowledge management and innovation, and you need them working together,
Yep.
right? Because what happens is that I know what we want and what we need, but I have no idea how to implement any of all that.
Mm.
Maybe there are problems with cybersecurity. Maybe there are problems with, that there are so many challenges that I have no idea about. So the great thing to have is to count on an amazing IT director that I basically say to her, she's so great. I'm like, well, I have this idea that my boss always tells me, like, you think in unicorns all the time, and you need someone to kind of, take them down to earth. And that's basically what
Bring
happens.
you a pony and not a unicorn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm always saying like, well, you know what? I want to, I don't know, for example, automate the due diligence. I want to do this and that. I want to have, I don't know, a data recognition review document system, whatever. And then I would say, I would see things in the market. And when I like something, of course I call her and say, Now I need you to see it, right? From the technology part, so so you can tell me if this is feasible, if this is logic. Maybe they're telling me whatever amount and it is ridiculously expensive, and we can develop that inside or whatever. So I do think that yes, active listening is very important, but I think that having a great team working together is amazing, and it's been amazing for me. But I have to do it all the time. I'm telling you, I have no idea about anything technology related. I know more than most attorneys, right? Because attorneys have no idea about it.
Yep,
I
yep.
know more than most of them, but I have no idea. I would never implement any tool or anything without asking first to our to our IT director.
Oh my gosh. I mean, look, the wisdom that you have sprinkled into this conversation is incredible. And I think with the IT director point, the catchphrase I've come up in my mind just now is everyone is trying to hunt for unicorns, but a pony is pretty good if you can get a pony.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. I agree.
so
I agree.
so with that, I'm going to say thank you so much for all those amazing insights.
No, thank you for having me. It's been a great conversation.
I am looking forward to releasing this to the world. It's going to be a little pony that we release into the
A
wild.
little pony. That's great.